So it was funny. I get down there, and I know Anthony, and I know Daniel Downs.
Yeah.
So they're both competing. They're like, bro, Tyler Young's in your class. I'm like, who the fuck's Tyler? He's like, oh, he's badass. And I was like, okay. It was like, he talked about you and how good you are at Strongman. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, he's also like a black belt in jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, well, great. This guy is like way more badass than me.
Right.
It's so weird that people talk about me like that because I'm like, despite me telling you about me razzing Jordan Jarrell, like I don't talk smack at all. Like I just kind of.
Well, you can tell you're a super humble guy.
So yeah, that's kind of.
I feel like a lot of guys, like especially like in that jiu-jitsu world, like mixed martial arts, like the most humble people. They're like the people that are least likely to like start fights and shit.
If you think about it,
I'm a purple belt, by the way. So if you were gonna announce that picture,
just so you guys know,
I have like 17 text messages next week. Oh, really?
Oh, now you're a black belt. So it just comes down to the whole thing, though. I think when someone knows that they have the physical ability to hurt people, they don't need to act like they can hurt people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's kind of like these things where it's like you don't want to. Like I remember when I was boxing, I was always in fights, but I was never trying to get in fights. But everyone always wants to test you.
Yes,
like because if like being a big guy. Me and Brad Abbott talk about this. We went to Brothers one day to watch the UFC fights, and it was like pulling teeth because he's a really he's like 260, looks like a silverback, and then he's really strong, and he was a really good collegiate wrestler. So every time he goes out, people like want to pick fights with him.
Yeah,
he's just like, I hate going out and being a big guy and people wanting to fight me all the time.
Have you ever bounced?
No, I'm not.
I bounced for about 2 years at a bar, like at 5'6", like 195, 200 pounds. So everybody's always like
sizing you up,
exponentially worse, and. Yeah, it's just part of it.
Especially when people drink.
Yeah.
We see that. Well,
they drink that liquid courage.
Yeah, Dylan Spino was bartending for a while, and he'd always have some really interesting stories.
Yeah.
He bartended at Brothers downtown,
right?
Which is also
a good buddy of mine called me. He's like, "Hey man, you need some side work?" And I was like, "Maybe. What's up?" He was like, "Dude, we got jumped. There was like 12 people that showed up in a party, and they just beat the piss out of us a few months back, and there were only 4 of us, which the bouncers that they had are bad mamma jammas. Like, I mean, they're all 6'6". He was like, but nobody really knew what they were doing. We were just like King Kong and Bull in a China shop, and we were just trying to get by. He's like, can you just come and like at least assess us? And I was like, yeah, man, I can do that. Cool. And I loved it. It's the best job I've ever had. Like, it was great.
Yeah, teaching people to be more badass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like the realm we're in,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fight at all. I just know how to lift weights. Just bodybuilder. Trying to relate.
So Jay competes in bodybuilding.
Cool.
And physique. Well, you're doing a crossover.
Yeah, I watched your video on the cable rows the other day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the cedar rows.
That's actually how I do mine, too. Like, I roll
big
the lads
stretch.
all
Got it from this
the way
guy over
forward.
here.
Yeah.
Big stretch, big
That's
squeeze.
what I like to hear.
I've tagged and sent like 10 people your video about cueing the lats on the bench press.
Oh, I appreciate that.
That was such a good video.
Thanks, man. We love producing content. That's the guy. That's the man over there. I just talk in front of the camera. Charlie makes me look real good.
Gets them angles.
He gets the angles, made me look a little bigger, a little stronger. It's funny though. Whenever I first started getting into lifting weights, I was always a little guy.
Yeah.
I was never the strongest guy. And I knew that if I wanted to be any good at it, I had to learn good positioning.
Right.
I knew, because everyone's like, "Oh, your form's fine." I was like, "Well, if my form's fine, and yours looks like it is," which you can very easily see I'm able to identify really easy. If I watch a video of somebody bench pressing and I look at someone else bench pressing or myself bench pressing and he's moving way more weight than I'm moving, something I'm doing is wrong. So I started just looking at where are my elbows at, where's my chest at, where's my neck at. I start thinking these things, but I remember my friends saying, "Oh, you have good form, man," and that's when I kind of threw away form. Form is just so you don't get hurt. Positioning so you get strong.
Yeah.
Like Anthony and I were talking about on the previous podcast. Like I even have a picture of him setting up in the deadlift, and his upper back's rounded. Naturally, it's just like, but he also pulls 700 plus pounds. Like that's his erectors are that strong to put the weight into that position. So like the back rounding, everyone's like, "Oh, that's such a bad thing." And now if your core's breaking, your lower back's rounding, let's worry a little bit more about it. But if it's the upper back rounding, as long as it doesn't round throughout the lift, if it starts rounded and stays rounded, it's not the most efficient position to be in, but it's still a strong position.
For sure.
And the reason why it's not the efficient position to be in, because once your back starts rounded, you're going to get more torque off the ground. You see the guys with the background, they always get good torque off the ground, but they get about 3/4 of the way up right past their knees. And then
they're out of position, and then they have to fix it by
trying to shake themselves up
and
then put themselves in a position to be more upright. But what's cool with Strongman is you can hitch. So as long as you can get up past the knees, you can dip your hips down in and pull the weight up.
So it doesn't affect your total lift nearly as much?
Nah.
Being rounded?
Especially,
you can get away with a lot more like bad positions in strongman. I feel like because powerlifting is so strict about everything. Strongman doesn't care. Just get it up and stay in one place.
Which is what I like most about it. And it's almost like in strongman too, you're in a lot of awkward positions. Like I've never taught anyone to have flexion in their back like this.
Yeah. It's life.
And then in strongman, like
yeah, it's life. It's moving in a nonlinear plane.
Yes.
I'm like, yes, finally. Yeah.
So much different than powerlifting.
It is.
Yes.
The culture's different. We'll put it this way. Tyler and I, we met, we've only met each other once.
Yeah.
And instantly became friends. Like, he's cheering me on. I'm like, yeah, it's my first show or the second show, whatever it is. He's like, oh, dude, I got you. He's like giving me tips and like cheering me on. I remember I did the 340 stone, which was a 40-pound PR for me. I only did 300 one time before that. And you can see him in the video watching me to see if I'm getting it. Then I got it, and he was pumped. And it was a heavy stone for all of us.
Yeah.
And he was hyped that I got it, and we're battling for places. Yeah. You know, just to see shit like that, and you don't get that camaraderie. Powerlifting's great, and I love the community. But strongman is just a different level.
Just a different level. And how's the quote go? Like, a higher tide raises all the boats in the harbor. That's kind of how I see strongman, especially like a local contest like that. And that's not to say that I'm not this way when I go to nationals or something like that. Like, obviously, I want to see everybody do well because that pushes me, like, all right, it's time to kick it in. But I just want to see everybody get better together because it's changed a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. The numbers are just going through the roof.
Yeah, how so? Explain that a little bit.
Everything's just getting heavy. Everything's just getting real heavy. Like, you'll see 200-pound weight class when I first started, you would see a 600-pound yoke and be like, man, that's a pretty good yoke. I'm going to have fun with that. But now it's not uncommon to see an 800-pound yoke in a 200-pound class.
Yeah, bro. Y'all had us doing 700 at that comp down there. It took me 45 seconds. Yeah. Remember that, how slow it took me to do the yoke?
You walking with the yoke? That was crazy.
His crazy ass did it in like 8 seconds. Him and Wes.
And Wes still beat me.
Sprinted. Like, I'm watching these guys, like, I don't know if I could have ran. Physically ran as fast as what they carried 700 pounds. And there I am. I barely pick it up.
Now, why is that? Because obviously you're extremely strong human being. Like, what's the difference? Like,
so much static work. 15 years of being statically in the same position on the squat, being statically in the same position of the deadlift. My efficiencies in the main movements are next to none. But when it comes to actually moving my body, my hips aren't moving that way. My hips are used to externally rotating, sitting back in a hole, and then driving up. Now it's like, oh yeah, by the way, walk forward. If you just watch me walk now, it's so funny. Dan Mason, one of my strongman buddies, tagged me the other day. He goes, it was a meme of a gorilla walking. It walks like this. He goes, every jack dude under 5'7". I'm like,
they make fun of me at work because I just pretty well waddle because my thighs are so thick, and I just.
Yeah. Did you start in strongman, or were you started in powerlifting?
I did some powerlifting in high school. Pretty much just bench only. Like, I was just benching curls like everybody else.
Oh yeah.
But I found strongman when I was actually at MP school with the Marine Corps. I just wanted something to be more combat effective, basically, and I didn't feel like CrossFit really had all the puzzle pieces in a row for that because it didn't really prioritize strength, in my opinion, what I was seeing out of the local boxes anyway.
I agree with that totally. I think most local boxes neglect that.
Yes.
However, there are some really good ones who like run conjugate splits and like they actually have power days.
Right. But that's a new development.
It's very new.
Yep.
Kind of what happened with Strongman, CrossFit from the outside looking in. And I visited, I don't know, a couple hundred CrossFit gyms in Louisville, Indianapolis, St. Louis, when I worked for Muscle Farm. So I'd visit all these gyms and sell them products. And I was able to pick up on the gyms that were different. Because I go in and sometimes I'd be there for an hour because I'm a gym guy and I just like to watch people work out. So I'm sitting there watching guys work out. In nearly every box I went to, it was just a WOD up on the board and go ahead and do this. It's a run. It's a this. It's a hard workout because it's stimulating naturally and it's going to get your heart rate up. But that was kind of it. The coaches were able to get really lazy in CrossFit because like, hey, anybody, like Tyler, I can give you a hard workout right now. 500 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, 500 air squats. I'm like, fuck, that's going to suck.
Yeah.
You think you got a good workout, but what's it leading to?
Yes. What was the end goal?
What was the end goal?
And that was kind of my hang-up. Everybody likes to throw around the term functional fitness. Well, we all have different functional needs. So, again, I wanted to be more combat effective. So my functional need didn't really involve me being able to hit a rower for like as hard as I can for however long they do. But it may involve me having to carry something in each hand for 50 feet, or it may involve me having to throw somebody over my shoulders and run with them. So that's why strongman kind of attracted me, because I felt like it was more relative to what I was doing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Oh, total sense. And it makes sense with your military background. Dylan Spina, he was at the competition. He won lightweight novice that day. or whatever, 231 under, whatever that is, novice. He was in the Marines as well, and he is so good at the carry events.
Yeah.
Like, he crushed. That's why I talk to Dylan and Jeremy all the time. Like, if we just go to a show, like the show that you and I did, like my training partners, even though I'm statically 100 pounds stronger than them, that's what I love so much about Strongman. They can still beat me in a show.
Right.
Because if there's more carry events, and if I finish closer to the back 2 times and they finish closer to the front, they can squeak out a win. You know what I mean? So it's like it really goes down. Why I love so much about Strongman, it's your full raw strength.
Right.
It's not just squat, bench, deadlift, which is a great testament of the human strength.
For sure.
But you're not being tested overhead. You're not being tested moving. And Strongman tests all these, and that's been a test for me, which is why I've been so attracted to it. I'm like, whoa, this is... I don't have this shit figured out by any stretch.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's functional needs. Your functional needs have shifted from moving weight in a linear plane straight up and straight down to being able to pick it up and move with it or load it or carry awkward things, awkward distances.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely awkward shit throughout. Like picking up a sandbag.
Yeah.
And carrying with it. You crushed. I was watching it on your Instagram the other day. You're crushing them sandbags.
Yeah,
dude.
I love sandbags. That's my thing.
Does that come from like the military style training
I
as
have
well?
no idea. I don't know. I just always really enjoyed sandbags. I wish I had a better answer for you than that. That's about all I got.
We got Jay on the sandbag the other day, the 150 sandbag over his shoulder.
Before we put the extra weight in it.
Right.
It was like, 50 pounds lighter, so it was 100. It was still heavy.
Yeah. All of my new people that show up to the gym, like, they start from day one doing that nonlinear stuff. So they're loading sandbags like week 1 because everything's going to build on that. The log hinge pattern, obviously if we move into stones and carrying awkward stuff over there. Since we've had thumbs, we've always carried stuff in front of us. So why not just use that to build?
What a great approach.
Yeah.
And explain the carryover for the log.
So I pick up everything the same way pretty much. So I get my shins as close to it as I can, get it in the lap, and then I squeeze it to my chest. You'll see a lot of people like jump and hammer curl the log. So they'll be fully erect and the log will still be in their lap. I like to pin it to my chest and then hinge and get under it. And it's the same thing when I when I pick up a sandbag or a stone. You'll see me stay connected to it. It's high on my chest already, so I don't have to make up that space later. I've already made it up once. There's no reason to make it up again.
Absolutely, I'm the same exact way. That's very efficient.
Oh yeah,
I
carry everything that way if I can. Kegs, everything.
I feel like smaller guys think more efficiently.
We have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I lived on a farm, and my parents used to just leave me alone with stuff, and I would just have to figure out how to move this to that. Like, they had a washer, I'll never forget this, they had a washer and dryer delivered one day. My dad told me on the way out to work, he's like, "Now, don't you touch that washer and dryer, I'm going to help you with it when I get home." And I was like 15 or 16, I just started lifting weights, I was like, all right, bet. So, like, it took some figuring in my head, but finally I got the old washer and dryer out, moved the new washer and dryer in, and it was all set up for him when they come home, and he just had that little grin on his face, and you could tell, like, that was his task for the day. Like, that's what he had challenged me to do.
That's cool. So you've always been kind of tested with
it's his
strength.
fault, I guess.
It's his fault I'm strong.
Yeah.
That's a good fault to have, man. Wish my dad would have told me to be stronger.
Me too.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is episode 48, maybe, of the Zach Hummel Show. I'm live back in the Broad Ripple office with my homeboy Jay. He's co-hosting today, and we have a very special guest, strongman athlete, good friend of mine, Tyler Young.
What's up, guys?
Up from Kentucky. As you guys here, been chatting a little bit about strongman. Now, I got a lot of respect for Tyler. My second show I competed against Tyler, and he kicked my ass, and I was like, I really like this guy. I can learn a lot from him. But what I loved the most about the competition was, as I was explaining a little bit, as you guys heard some previous information, that when I was first met Tyler, we were in the same class, and it was a very competitive competition. And through every exercise that we did, an event we did, Tyler was one of the first people there to cheer me on. And I thought that was really cool, and it was also very humbling to be a part of a group that had that much camaraderie with the actual competitors. So
for sure,
I was excited to get you on the show, Tyler, and hear a little bit more about your backstory, dude.
I'm happy to be here, for sure.
How was the drive?
It wasn't bad, actually. Wasn't bad. I was planning on a lot of traffic and construction. There wasn't much of either. So
did you have 69?
No, we brought 65 pretty well the whole way. Like I said, my
65,
in-laws live in Louisville, so we crashed there last night so we could do a shorter drive this morning and leave the little terrace with them this morning. So
Yeah, you got a son, right?
Yes, 2 years old.
Well, he was up there lifting like the 200-pound stone. I saw.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Like he's literally like lifting. He's on Instagram like lifting things. I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna be
strong.
I take him to the gym with me, and he'll bring me a pair of 10-pound dumbbells, and he'll just hand them to me. I'm like, yes.
How old is he?
He's 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he'll carry the medicine balls around and load them like stones and stuff.
That's so.
Is he at the gym pretty often?
I try not to have him there more than a day or 2 a week.
Yeah.
Because typically I work out at like 4 o'clock in the morning. But if I'm there, then I have clients. So I try not to overlap that client time. But yeah, anytime I can get him in there, yeah, he loves it.
That's something that Ash and I like. We want a crew to be at the gym and enjoy it, but we don't want to like drag him if he doesn't. He's obviously he's a little bit older. He's like 7, so we're trying to find that balance of like how much he wants to be there, so he kind of finds that as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
But not too much where he's like, oh man, I gotta go to the gym today.
Yeah.
So trying to find that balance with him, but he's the same way. He loves like we'll set up obstacle courses. We're at the crime across the cable crossover and jump over benches and shit. And I read a really cool article the other day. I actually saved it. I noted it on my Instagram. I have to send it to you about young kids, like youth kids, training, like squats, deadlifts, bench. And it was a very interesting article and a good take because there's no scientific research proving that it's bad for the kids to load their spines. And obviously they're like not maxing these kids out, but it's talking about how that the kids can effectively train at a very young age. I was like, interesting.
I remember growing up like in like middle school and people would say like stunted your growth.
Yeah, so would coffee. So stunt your growth. There's always this shit. Like I think sometimes people
whatever does stunt your growth, I must have had part of that because here I am. But I mean, kids also they move so much more efficiently than we do. Like I watch my son squat and I'm like, I would give anything for that hip mobility. You know what I mean?
Perfect squat too.
Yeah, perfect.
If you think about it,
open at the knees, they reach back, they do everything they're supposed to.
Everything they're supposed to do. They sit back. It's like train though, because especially when you start potty training the kids, they're sitting back. When you take a shit, you sit back. You don't break first to the knees. Yeah. So when I teach people how to squat, I'm pulling in the bathroom like sit back.
Yeah.
If you sit straight down, you're not sitting your nuts.
Yeah.
When you sit back on the toilet, and if you see a kid, he operates the exact same way.
Yeah, I was listening to those cues. I think it was Anthony's episode that you were talking about that and how I treat my athletes with that when they're first squatting, because you'll see them like I call it like the high school football squat. Like you do a quarter squat and then you good morning the rest. So I want to like completely avoid any of those bad habits, especially when somebody starts with me. So I'll have them set onto a sandbag, specifically that 150-pound sandbag. It's about parallel, and I just sit down, just stay in a good position. I start them out with the safety squat bar, the cambered bar, something like that.
So you avoid straight bar first.
Yes.
What's your reasoning behind that?
Because typically when they're coming in, I'm going to put them through a lot of strongman implements, and I don't want any extra strain on the elbows and shoulders.
Are they coming directly for strongman, or do you just think that's a better base?
Some come directly for strongman, but I use that as a base for all of my athletes unless they are wanting specifically powerlifting, which I don't have any specific powerlifting clients right now, so it's kind of handy. But all my, like I have a few cops and several in the military, so their goal is just to make it home at the end of the night. So I need to build their strength on a nonlinear plane. So yeah, you're going to do a lot of strongman stuff. And if I can take the guesswork out of their arm and shoulder position, putting the extra strain on the biceps with a straight bar and put them on a safety squat bar to teach them to squat safely and correctly, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
100%. I wish I would have done strongman 5 to 10 years ago, because I would start training my new athletes with strongman implements over powerlifting, because I believe that strongman implements also you're also going to train in a static position.
Right.
So you're still going to get strong statically, and if you want to focus on your squat, your bench, your deadlift, all the exercises that you do in strongman aid into that. They're all great accessory movements. Like there's no greater accessory movement for your posterior chain than the stones.
Right.
I feel like the stones, those and the pin good mornings are just my go-tos. So now I have guys doing stones who would just typically never do it, and then they feel so badass because who doesn't want to pick up a rock? Yeah. Like when you do it and it cuts you up a little bit, there's just something about that fire in them.
Right.
You feel it, bro. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm excited to get back.
And also, too, a lot of the people that are coming to me are mid-20s, low 30s. A lot of them already have shoulder injuries from benching terribly for the last 15 years. A lot of them have shoulder injuries from playing baseball, or one does Krav Maga. He is a fellow Marine and trains Krav Maga in Louisville.
What's that?
And it's the Israeli fighting systems. It's like jiu-jitsu and kickboxing on steroids, basically. Like it's like trained to do a lot of special techniques with knives. Like, it's pretty neat. Check it out.
Yeah.
For sure. But
do you get into that shit?
No, I don't have a Krav school close to me. I'm all about like finding quality instructors if I'm going to learn something and do it the right way. And the closest Krav to me is like 75 miles away, which not that it's not worth it. It's just
yeah, we got 2-year-old
stacked.
course,
yeah.
So you're a full-time trainer? Is that what you do?
I'm not. I'm a full-time factory worker. Really? However, I have a 3 on, 2 off, 2 on, 3 off kind of schedule deal. I think it's called like the Panama schedule. And on my off days, I'm in there.
Cool.
I have clients that I train at like 4:30 in the morning. So I'll train a client. I'll get up at 3 and I'll go work out. Then I'll train them. Then I work 7 to 7 and go home. And
You got a full day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worker.
Well, how's it grind in your 20s so you can relax in your 30s or however the.
Yeah, I like that.
That's where I'm at.
Wow.
How old are you, Tyler?
I'm 29.
29. Awesome, dude. Dude, I like how you're. I feel like is a great representation of if you are passionate about something, you can still make time to do it because you have every excuse to be like, I just can do some online training or just train myself or use my days off to relax and rest. Rather, you pursue your passion. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, and like I don't watch TV. Like I don't have time to sit down and binge watch Netflix. That's why I don't want to say it offends me, but it kind of bothers me when people say, "Oh, I don't have time." I'm like, yeah, I bet you spend 20 minutes in bed looking on Facebook that you could have done. Like I don't know if you see my post. I just started this simple and sinister kettlebell thing that I'm just adding in every day.
Yeah.
But it's just to get better at Turkish get-ups, essentially. But that takes 15 minutes, and at the end of that 15 minutes, you're like in a sweaty lump in the corner, like fighting for your life. It's just awful. And that's kind of, yeah, like some of my online clients right now, probably 8 or 9 of them, I kind of had this idea for a home-based training because a lot of them are remote. They don't have gyms that they frequent, or maybe they're working schedules. Because when I first started at the plant, I was working 7 days a week. 5 or 6 days of those a week were 12-hour shifts. And it is difficult, but I prioritized it because I wanted to train. When I was prepping for my first Worlds, that's the schedule that I was running.
Really?
70, 80 hours a week every week, but I had to keep working out because these other guys that I'm competing against, these Andrew Trianas and Jess Reeves that I was talking about, they're not taking a day off. You know what I mean? I say this to Wes all the time. I hate to lose a lot more than I love to win. So I'm going to be in there getting it if I can. You know what I mean?
That. I hate to lose a lot more than I like to win.
For sure.
That's really dope.
For sure. But these home-based kettlebell clients is what I'm calling them basically, is I put together, usually it's like a 20-minute EMOM or might be a couple Tabatas, but you just do it. When you get home before bed, one guy messaged me the other day. He's like, "Hey man, I really appreciate it." And I'm like, ordered a bunch of kettlebells, like so people could start all at the same time. So I'm like loaning kettlebells out. When I'd go to meet them, I'd show them just real basic techniques. I'm sending video updates and stuff like that, or video demos rather. He's like, "Hey man, I really appreciate you shining on me like this, but I just don't really have the motivation." Then the next day he talks about, "Hey, does anybody have any Netflix recommendations?" I'm like,
that's the worst.
Like, man.
It's like, dude, man.
But, I mean, it kind of comes down to how you're cut. We're just cut from a different cloth, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a discipline thing, and I think a lot of it, I relate everything back to, that's probably all my counseling, so I just relate everything back to childhood, man.
For sure.
And, you know what I mean? And how people grow up, and it's not that it's a good or bad. It doesn't have to be like a bad home situation or a good home situation. I think it's just how the home situation was prioritized.
For sure.
My mom's like, yo, in the summertime, go outside and play, you drink out the hose, and I'll call you in for dinner.
Yeah.
This is like, that's just kind of how we played. But on top of that, I didn't want to come home. Like, I wanted to be out playing with my friends and building jumps and lighting shit on fire in the woods. So
Right.
I never wanted to be home doing it inside the house doing anything anyways. Where I think if we kind of prioritize, like, if parents are maybe a little bit too overwhelming, want the kid around too much, because they're missing something on inside, overwhelming the child, then they don't build any independence.
For
When
sure.
you don't build any independence, it's really hard to create and make yourself good decisions.
Yeah.
It's going to be healthy for you in the long run. What do you think? What is your opinion on that, Jay?
I think part of the issue is people don't link their goals back to the work, right? They
For
just look
sure.
at the work. They look at, I got to go do 20 minutes of this kettlebell exercise.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about why they're actually doing it. So for
Right.
my clients, off the jump on the first call, I always encourage them to sit down and write out their goals, their big whys,
Yep.
right? Short term and long term, benefits and implications of sticking to this or not sticking to it, right? And then put that on a note card, put it in your wallet. And then whenever you don't have that motivation, or just look at it twice a day,
Yeah.
right? And it just sparks it and reminds you. So you start connecting the dots. Oh, I got to do this 15 minutes of kettlebell work, but here's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Most people just think about the work and the negative instead of the
Exactly.
positive and what they're getting out of it.
Exactly.
I would always write shit on my mirrors.
Yeah,
Dry erase
I'm a big
marker.
proponent of that. I've got this is my number one priority, and I've got to mark it off before I can move on to number 1 or number 2. And I did that when I was fighting. I did that when I was really training 6 days a week in jiu-jitsu. I've always had that. So maybe flexibility was number 1 on the list because I kept messing a submission because I was out of position. So I'd work on that. So 30, 45 minutes a day, and it's incremental changes. You don't have to make a big turn your life upside down change right overnight. I prioritized soft tissue work about 3 months ago, right, the first of the year. Every night when I get home, if I'm going to sit down and close out all my Facebook notifications, I'm on that So Right, or I'm on Do you guys know about that?
No.
I'm going to come back to that because that's been life-changing so far. I'm on my foam roller. I'm on my baseball I use to dig my piriformis. And if I need to, I've got a kettlebell on my quads, smashing them out. But I'm doing all that. The same thing I would have been doing playing on my phone on the couch. I'm just also getting my soft tissue work.
Yeah. How do you prioritize? You have a busy schedule. Obviously, we picked up on this productive. I would say busy, productive schedule. How do you focus on prioritizing or working in harmony or life balance, if you will, with family?
I try not to waste time. So if I can work out while my family's asleep, then I do that.
So is that why you're doing like your 4 a.m.?
Yeah, for sure. And so if I can put that in at some other, so Troyce goes down for a nap, boom, I'm knocking out this person's program for the next week. I have to be very careful with my time. I try not to waste it, so I don't like sit around and watch.
I think that'd be some great content for you to post. I'm
Right.
not trying to tell you what to post, but I think it'd be great content for you to post. Time management, because working a full 40+ hour a week, you said like 10 online clients, you mentioned 6 or 8 in person. That's a heavy workload to manage how you manage your time. I think everybody needs more practice in time management.
I picked up a 5th face-to-face on the way up here.
Really?
Yeah. I'm busy.
Yeah, that's good.
I love it, though. I love it. It keeps me sharp.
It's like it's a fire. I tell me and Ash talk about that all the time. Like, I'll tell her, like, because sometimes when you get home at the end of the night and I look at my next day's schedule, I'm like, fuck, babe, I got to do this. And she goes, you're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to be pumped, you have it all to do. You love it. You feed off it. I'm like, you're right. Because, like, when I'm in it, when I'm bored, like, when I start to realize, like, I'm getting bored, I'm realizing, like, I get stagnant. I get worse. I regress very fast if I'm ever bored. I can't remember the last time I've been bored.
And I'm a big proponent of, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, that's why I start people with simple movements and put the bag in there. But I'm like that in every aspect of life. So if something's not going to make me better, then I'm not going to mess with it. Like, I mean, I love watching Vikings on television, but is that really, like, if I can do programming while I'm watching that, then yeah.
Now, have you kind of always been programmed this way, or have you worked yourself into this?
I think I've always been. I mean, I remember like being made fun of in high school because I was a 5'6", 170-pound nose guard. I'd be on the sideline
fucking
screaming.
Hard nose. Doesn't he just look like that? Like such a hard nose.
I'd be screaming. Yeah.
He's the guy at the party that my buddy talks shit to, and I'm like, here we go. You can tell this is a fucking hard ass.
So like nobody really like took me seriously, but I would get up in the morning. I had a little garage or I had a basement gym. I'd work out in the morning, sit through school all day because I didn't want to be there. All I wanted to do was play football, get out, lift with the team, practice with the team. Like football was my life. But I remember screaming on the sidelines, "How bad do you want it? Come on, you got to want it." And everybody's like all the like higher jocks, I guess, were like making fun of me and stuff. But you know what they're doing right now? Sitting on their couch being fat, not chasing their goals.
Bro.
Like, you see the deadness in their eyes when they're like, "Hey, man, how you been?" I'm like, "I ain't doing great." They're like, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "Well, I'm prepping for nationals, getting ready to go do this, that, and the other." And they're like, "Oh, okay, I'm selling, like, Little Debbie snack cakes or whatever they're doing." And that's not to talk shit about their grind, you know what I'm saying?
You're 100% right, dude. You're 100% right. It's literally, you've literally hit that in the head when you said the dead in their eyes. I always told Ash I hated going home. People are like, "Hummel, how you doing?" And I'd be like, I looked at him, and I remember this was from experience. I tell them, like, "Bro, I'm like," because they were waiting for you to say, man, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Work's been rough. That's everyone's answer. Hummel, how you doing? I'm like, it's really hard for me to be like, yo, I'm winning. The business is growing. It's the best I've ever been. My relationships are great. I have a fucking smoking hot fiance. I'm banging all the time. Like,
hell yeah,
I'm winning.
Hell
dude.
Yeah.
Like, what do you hear me say? I'm winning. But people hate to hear when someone else is doing better than they are.
No doubt.
It's a comparison thing. It's just like, dude, at the end of the day, if you work a 9-to-5 office job, because me and Jake talk a lot about office jobs, so we're such advocates of people just becoming their own boss because it's just found so much fulfillment. But we know not everyone's designed for that. And if you're just designed to work that 9-to-5 job and you find enjoyment out of it and you don't have that deadness in your eyes when you talk about what you're doing, you've won. You're winning. You're actually winning life.
I mean, and you came from a coal mine, so I'm sure you saw the same thing. I've got people at my factory that have worked there for 50 years. For 50 years, they've been coming to the same place, making the same duct tape. And they're like, "So what are you doing this weekend?" And they expect me to say, "Oh, I'm just going to sit around the house and grill out." No, that ain't me. Like, I'm
going to go try to win a national title.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you can tell the people that are still wanting, I think it was Alex's episode, she talked about the only thing that people look forward to is breaks and going home. Well, fuck that. That's not me. Like, this is a temporary thing. Like, the reason I went to the factory to begin with was so Megan could stay home. Megan's my wife, for those of you listening. So Megan could stay home with our son when he was born. So Oh, perfect example. So I had just started there. It'd been like 4 or 5 months, qualified for Worlds, or the official Strongman Games, for those of you who are being nitpicky. The official Strongman Games that first December, and they were acting like they weren't going to let me off. And I was like, well, you need to start looking for somebody to fill my position then. And this guy in the break room he'd been there for like 30 years. He's like, whoa, that's just crazy, man. You got to work. I'm like, dude, do you live here? Like, you pass all these places to work. Like, I'll make sandwiches at Subway and still be chasing my goals. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Like, there's a million places to work out here. You think I'm worried about making tape?
I think people get stuck in that box.
Man, it blows my mind.
Man, it's they get there, like, doing the coal mines. I remember when I was leaving the coal mines, there were some guys like, fuck yeah, bro, get out. Good for you.
Yeah.
And there's other guys like, are you crazy? Like, you're making $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, they see me driving a motorcycle to work. They see me driving a new car to work. I'm crushing it on all aspects of life. They're like, what do you mean you're going to go sell? All they thought was pre-workout, because all the guys on midnight would take pre-workout. So you're going to go sell pre-workout? That doesn't even make any sense. And I'm like, yeah, I'm moving to Indianapolis. They were so mind-blown, because I was telling them, like, dude, my house owns I'm filing bankruptcy. Like, I'm willing to do this. Yeah. They could not understand. Like, they just couldn't connect the dots. But it was all they knew. They put themselves in a box, and they put their self-worth in, this is where I work, and this is who I am. A lot of people put all of their identity into their workplace. You ever ask somebody, hey, man, how's it going? Good. How's work? The next thing, it's how's work. It's never nothing. How's work? How's the family? Yeah. And it's always good and good, you know.
Yeah.
Is it really, though? Like, is work really good?
Or the textbook favorite, living the dream with the sadness in the eyes. It's like living the dream. And don't get me wrong, like, I make spectacular money, like, in rural Kentucky. Like, you are not going to beat the money that I make to work the schedule that I have. But I'm just cut out for more than that. In fact, super random, I was telling a buddy about it at work yesterday. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be here much longer. Buddy messages me. He's like, hey, man, would you be interested in this counselor spot that just came available? Because that's my whole background, is working with kids.
Really?
Yeah. So I worked at a behavioral health facility named Rivendell down in Bowling Green. From there, I worked at the Juvenile Detention Center with the Department of Juvenile Justice. Was a behavioral health specialist for life skills. So that's all I've done is work with kids. And he was like, hey, man, my buddy's this assistant superintendent up there. Do you think you'll be interested? And I was like, yeah. Called him like 8 o'clock last night on the phone. He's like, I'll get it posted. It's pretty well yours.
That's cool. Congratulations, man. That is dope.
That was just last night.
So you're just...
I don't know if I'm supposed to, like, say that on here. But
yeah, we're posting it next week, so yours should be good.
Yeah,
you know, right, 2 weeks from now.
That's awesome, man.
That's super cool. But what I like about it, let's bring that full circle real quick, Jay. What just happened there? So he shows us that he's being efficient with his time, right? You're being efficient with your time. You're not wasting time. And then you're not feeling confined to the space that you're in. You know you're destined for more. And even if this next position, it still might not be enough for you, but you always have your head on a swivel. You're willing to kind of take whatever comes your way. For sure. You're always willing to progress yourself. It's what we say is eventually what we believe. So if we constantly say, it's just like that guy's like, what are you talking about? What are you doing this weekend? Like, what are you talking about? You're not going to come to work. You know, when you kind of start thinking that way, you start believing that that's all your worth is. You believe your worth is what your company believes your worth is. You know, if people are like, oh, I make $18 an hour. Well, that's what you're worth. And a lot of people are like, I need a raise. Well, what are you doing to get a... Do you need a raise just because you have a new truck? Or do you have a raise because you have new skill sets and new knowledge? Like, what's the reason that you need a raise?
Yeah, you earn exactly what you're worth.
You earn exactly what you're worth. And people hate hearing that, especially people who work like 9 to 5, like, you know, $22 an hour, $25 an hour. I was like, well, that's what you're worth. No, I'm worth more than that. Then, well, why aren't you getting paid more than that? Yeah. There's going to be a lapse in time, however. Like, you're going to develop your skills. Like, I remember I was working for Muscle Farm. Like, I was worth way more than $28,000 a year, which is why the next year, when we have an Iron Barbell, things exploded because I had developed my worth, though, while I was paying my dues. There's going to be a time where you have to pay dues and kind of work 2 or 3 different jobs until you get able to get in the position that you want to be in. And I feel like a lot of people would never reach their end goal is because they're not willing to put in that, you know, head down, fucking put your head down and work for 2 years, 3 years, develop yourself, develop your skill sets.
And I think it's 3 things. I think, number one, we live in a society now that has to have it now. They don't understand that I didn't just wake up yesterday and I was halfway decent at Strongman. Like, I've been doing this for like 3 years or 4 years, however long it's been, and I was still working on strength before that. Like, this isn't just something that you show up. I mean, obviously, there are, like, your Larry Wills, for example, but he was already strong.
Right, he was in powerlifting. Like, that's for me, when I came into Strongman, I went straight to open class. Yeah. And I've won Kentucky's Strongest Man, but I placed every time I've competed. Right. But I also squat 700, deadlift 700, bench 450. Like, I wasn't going to be bad at it. Yeah. You know, I knew it wasn't going to be good.
Yeah. So I think they want it now. I think they're way too afraid of that what if factor. Well, what if you fail? well, bitch, what if I walk out and get hit by a bus? You know what I mean? Like, I could be walking out and get hit by a bus right next to us, and then I'm like paralyzed from the waist down. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be in the gym as soon as they clear me, and I'm going to work on my bench only. Yep. Like, I guess that's what I'm doing now. Or if I'm from the shoulders down, then I guess I'm going to be the world's best staring contest winner. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I've got to compete in something because it drives me to be better.
Yeah.
So if I'm driving in the car, I'm listening to podcasts, whether it's you, whether it's I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan.
Dude, did you listen to his Joe Rogan's?
Probably. I don't know what you're about to say, but probably.
I listened to, the other day, I was listening to Kevin Hart, but I was listening to, did you listen to Mike Tyson's one?
Yeah.
Bro,
it was awesome.
The Mike Tyson one we were just talking about this morning at the gym, and it was talking about Tyson, and he's like, he was in jail, and he's talking to his car dealer. And the car dealer,
tiger.
Yeah, the tiger, dude. He's like, a car dealer's like, yeah, I'm about to sell like 4 or 5 of these cars, and I'm gonna get some horses. Tyson's like, horses?
Horses? You can buy horses?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, man, I get horses, tigers, lions, bears. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get me a couple of them tigers when I get out. Yeah. And then he got the tigers, and then the tigers had a baby. That had a baby. Dude, he got the craziest life.
He's lived the craziest life.
We were talking this morning. I believe, this is my opinion, that he's the most famous person, him and Michael Jordan probably, in the world. There's really nobody who doesn't know who Mike Tyson is. Whether it's good or bad, your view of him, it's everyone knows Tyson. Joe Rogan talks about that in his podcast, about how he's able to make people move and make people shift. Like, he'll be anywhere and be like, fucking, if Tyson walks in, you're like, bro, Tyson.
Am I in right hook range? Because
you don't know about this cat.
Man.
Love his story, dude. I think he's just a spectacular human being.
He's incredible. Yeah.
Especially his transformation.
His childhood's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Especially
like he was like 12 years old, and he was already like 205 pounds and like 5'8", like jacked.
Yeah, and doing all the drugs at
12
years
all
old.
of the drugs, yeah.
Man.
Which I was big into boxing and fighting and all of that. So I read constantly. So I had read all of Teddy Atlas's biography. Like, I'd read his book, and I'd read all about Mike Tyson already. So it was nice to hear him verbalize that, especially in his little unique way.
Which is such a unique way.
Yeah. Like, he's just nuts.
Now he's running a weed farm.
I know.
Yeah, it's like a resort, man. It's like a whole, like, you go there and...
It's genius. I think that we should do
Dos
something
Equis
like
should
that.
hire him as the most interesting man in the world.
Absolutely, they should.
Yeah.
Him or Andrew. we have a buddy named Andrew. He's very interesting. Today, we're just chilling at the gym. He's the guy who makes my designs.
Yeah.
So you see our designs are like 20 times cooler than us. Like, this guy's like top level, like next level shit. Well, he's on the phone this morning, and next thing you know, he's just speaking in French.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Wasn't he, Charlie? Or was it French? I don't know. I'm just guessing the language. Wow. It was whatever it was. And I'm like, how's this dude know multiple languages? He's good at everything.
Yeah.
Like, he's not great at lifting weights, but he's okay. He's built good.
Better.
Yeah.
He's a bomb dad. You know what I mean? It's just like, man, some people just have all these gifts. But again, Andrew's efficient with his time.
Just like
he's always like into a new project. Like, I train him at the gym, and when he comes in, he's like, yeah, I just want to get better at this. And so he always has something he's trying to get better at. And I'm like, man, that's just like, it's very inspiring because he's like a design guy. So this is kind of a little bit out of his realm, like fitness for most, like, you know, if he's like a nerd or whatever in his own space. I think everyone's nerds in their own space. But he's like away from like physical fitness, like that space he's in, to like wanting to become better at it. It's just very inspiring to see that. It makes me want to like go learn how to play the guitar or something.
Yeah.
Which I probably
like when I drive, I don't listen to music. I already said that. I listen to podcasts. Well, this is gonna sound silly, but like even when I sit down to use the bathroom, like I'm reading an article somewhere. Like I mean, I post a lot on Facebook. Those of you that are on my Facebook know. But those are just like big 15-minute spurts where I'm like share, and then that's it for a few hours. It's just how I am.
Do you ever feel you're getting burnt out or is this because you've been programmed?
I haven't yet. I don't feel like I have an option right now. Like I feel like all of this has been put in my path to pursue, and it's up to me to lose. You know what I mean? Like, I only started coaching people in January.
Really?
Like, so I have like right at 20 clients now, and
Congratulations. That's really awesome. Well, you can just tell it, Tyler. I mean, you're contagious. Being around you, like, I'm getting hyped up. I'm ready to train right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're very, like, when you speak, you're very just boom.
I'm real caffeine sensitive too, and that's my second
Same,
coffee.
dude.
So, dog, let's get it.
I'm real caffeine
Man, you should
sensitive.
see me on pre-workout. I'm on. Yeah.
running around. But when you speak, man, it's very convicting. You know what I mean? It's very believable. You speak very confidently.
Yeah.
People are attracted to that, man. People want to be around that sort of energy. Something that Ash and I talk to all the guys, like, we know that our training in our community, in anywhere, is very top notch. We have very high level trainers. They had to be with me for 6 months before I even put them on the floor to train.
Yeah.
So very high level trainers, but it's like, guys, this is only 25% of it. Everything else goes down to how you make other people feel.
Yeah.
And when you learn how to make people feel, that's when you build retention. So if I see a trainer who does he lacks retention, where you get down to, hey, it's not the programming, it's not the actual, it's the way you're training the person. And Ashley is so phenomenal with that. And just call her in here real quick. She's so good with customer relations, and she's taught me so much about. She's been in the hair industry for 15 years.
Yeah.
She had to deal with like stuck up housewives and shit, and how to handle hard conversations. And you can relate that over just to anybody. But mostly, a lot of the clients that I have, they come in. It's just like they need motivated. They need that next push to get them through the next 2 or 3 days or the next week, however often I train them. They just need that motivation, that confidence that I'm able to distill in them to keep them moving, keep them rowing their boat.
Right. And good example of that, one of my guys that I'm seeing 3 days a week right now, he's my 430 guy, just started, was like, hey, my goal is to compete in Strongman. Eventually, I was like, all right, cool, come in. So started doing movements assessments. I was like, have you played any sports? He was like, nah, I did band. I was like, all right, cool. So we're starting from ground zero. He's like, well, this is jacked up from this is jacked up from this is jacked up from this. So I stripped away all of the like real complicated stuff, and I've just been building general strength for the last couple months until we found a contest that he wanted to do, which is the local one that I was telling you about. And he was like, well, I know this takes time, but I don't really feel like I'm getting a lot stronger. And I was like, well, that's because we've kind of been working on your general physical preparedness. I said, but I tell you what, it'll work itself out. So I programmed log presses for him. This was Tuesday morning. Programmed log presses for him, and had him at 4 sets of 4. Went in single clean press away. So he did like 150 on the log for 4 sets of 4. And I was like, hey man, do you remember about 6 weeks ago when I had you work up to a rough 1 rep max on log? He was like, yeah. I was like, well, yeah, it was 170. And you just did 4 sets of 4 at 20 pounds below that. I was like, so do you still feel like you're not getting stronger? He's like, we just hadn't tested in a while. I was like, well, that's the point. Like, I don't...
You don't always have to be breaking your body down.
Because I do super, super simple programming. Like, it's a main movement, it's a weakness assessment, and then it's some... like building the ancillary muscle groups around that. So, for instance, on an overhead day, his day the other day was log clean and press. That was the main movement. Stacking volume on so we can taper down to a max because it's a max log. Then I had him do cambered bar strict presses. Have you ever done strict presses with a camber bar? It's humbling.
Yeah.
Man, the first
Camber
time...
bar just humbles everything, doesn't it?
Man, I love it. I've got people doing lunges with it. I've got, incline press.
Yep, we do incline.
Yeah,
we done with that.
So yeah,
put them with the bands on it and put like kettlebells or plates.
Yep.
In addition, makes it extra shaky because it almost feels like an earthquake bar.
Yeah. So because his issue is his stability at the top, he'll press the log and then he'll lose his stability and won't be able to lock out the rep. So I'm torching the stabilizers, and then it's just something simple after that because he doesn't need a whole lot. He doesn't need 10 exercises that are going to keep him in there for 3 hours.
Absolutely.
We're in and out in an hour and a half. With warm up, cool down, stretch. I have him do a lot of shoulder rock stuff to get his shoulders loose because he's a mechanic, so his shoulders are all crimped up usually.
Speaking on that stability real quick,
no
an
doubt.
exercise that we're working on, we actually had Matt doing it the other day. When NFL football players I trained, he fucking jacked up his shoulder. And it's crazy that the shoulder's actually stronger, but it's just not as stable compared to the other shoulder. So exercise that I have my athletes doing, especially who lack stability. I had Michael doing this as well. Michael's a 585-pound bencher. I have him hold, it's all relative to the athletes, so 10, 20, 30, whatever it is, kettlebell, but straight up, not holding on the ball, but actually like the actual handle. And they'll hold it straight up, and they'll hold another kettlebell or dumbbell to the side. And I'll have them do walk 60 foot down, 60
I program
foot back.
kettlebell carries.
Man, you want to talk about strength, and it's 3 weeks. Within 3 weeks, the stabilizer muscle is just boom, man. It's cool.
I program 3 different kinds of carries. One's an overhead yoke. But I do that with a beltless. So I'll run the yoke up as high as it'll go. So your range of motion that is an overhead squat, basically, you just have to lock it out. And I'll do stupid heavy carries with that. So I'll carry 350, 400 pounds for 50-foot runs. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but
because it is.
Your skeleton is the strongest when it's locked out. So once you get it into position, it's not that terrible until you start moving with it. But then you get under a 350 or 375 overhead press, and you're like, oh, this ain't so bad. And I do banded dumbbell. I call them earthquake carries. But I take those little bitty bands, and I wrap it around the handle of the dumbbell, and you hold the band, and you hold it up, and it's like you're doing the wave with it, too. And I program a lot of earthquake presses, program a lot of cambered bars, strict presses and stuff like that. So
do you believe that there's a fine line between stability and strength?
Fuck yeah.
Absolutely. And I was talking about this. I had a buddy back home. His name is Lance, and he was a 600-pound squat and deadlifter, and he benched 450 at 220. Really just strong, raw dude. He was a sprinter. He did like track and field or whatever. Dude shook like a leaf, man, when he'd unrack the bar on the bench. I mean, just shaking like crazy. I'm like, dude, if you increase your stability, you're gonna increase the stability work, dude, bench 500.
Yeah.
Just from being more stable.
And you'll see that a lot when strong benchers take time off and they come back and they're still strong enough to bench a certain weight, but their stabilizers, like it's a very perishable skill. If you're not working your stabilizer,
goes quick.
Yeah. So I've got a buddy that is like, no joke, like a low 4 bencher, has tons of potential, but just doesn't do anything. Like he'll just chill for like 6 months out of the year, hit it hard for a couple months, get back into the 4s, and then fall back off. Yeah. But he's like that, so he'll show up at the gym, and I watched it. Happen one day. This guy was like, "Hey, can you spot me?" He's like, "I've got 365. I'm gonna do it for 5 reps." The guy's never seen this like kid before in his life. He's like, "All right, cool." So he pops it off, and like he's like shaking and stuff, like doing the Bernie, and they're like, and he's like, doom, 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 and he just muzzles through 5 and racks it. Like,
bizarre, dude. So that's funny. Yeah. So going back to the GPP training you're talking about, I have a client online. His name's Alex. Great kid. He's actually an equipment manager for, used to be the Falcons. I think he's at Houston now.
Oh, wow.
So he's always around like high level athletes. Right. He's just like, Hummel. Like, he set a couple PRs already. We've been training together for 3 months. And he set a couple PRs, but he's like, Hummel, man, he texted me last night. He's just frustrated. He's like, I don't think I'm getting any stronger. You know what I mean? I'm feeling like really stagnant right now. Like, what's going on? I want to chat with you about this. And I said, homie, a pyramid can only be as tall as its foundation. I said, we're building your foundation. He was like very like would only train maybe once every few weeks. So I just keep on trying to build. I said, all we're doing right now, man, is we're expanding. I said, once we get this foundation built out, then we're going to start. Because what ends up happening is coaches, they want this quick results from their clients. So they'll build a little foundation, and then they'll peak them into setting. Because I can get anybody to set a PR in 3 weeks. Yeah. I was going to teach them a little bit of positioning, work a little bit on weeks of development, do a progression, taper it back down. It's kind of like simply like what I have Ashley on, like building work capacity, and do a progression, and then I build in work capacity, another progression, 5-10 pound PR. Yep. You can run that for a few weeks, which is great, but you're eventually going to top out. You have to build which is I think a lot of strength athletes neglect, to have off season training. And I don't like believe like in season, off season when it comes to strength. I think it should always be strong, but there should be a level of your training that's building a foundation, that's building your stabilizer muscles, working up your GPP work, doing sled work, doing the exercises, the forearm work. This is stuff that we don't typically want to do. We got to be doing more of. So anyways, I was explaining that to him, and it just clicked for him. He's like, oh, okay. So I was like, dude, in a few months, you're going to be hundreds of pounds stronger than what you are now. Your toes are going to go up over 100 pounds. It happens all the time, especially with new guys. Naturally, we know we can get newbie gains really quick. But instead of just giving those gains and building bad habits from the jump, I build that foundation out for a few months. Like, dude, work with me for 6 months. The first 3 months, you'll set a few PRs here and there, a couple of working set PRs. But in 6 months from now, you're going to be hundreds of pounds stronger on your total than what you were when we first started.
And healthy. That's the key.
I'm real big on just keep my athletes, dude. I pride myself. Someone actually hit me up on Instagram a few weeks ago. They're like, all you pride yourself on is not getting hurt. I'm like, yeah.
That's a big thing.
That's why I'm strong.
An efficient human being.
Yeah, that's why I'm strong right now. And I hate to say I'm an efficient human being because I'm not right now because I'm so tight.
That's the goal. That's what I was implying.
I'm so tight. My mobility, like you're talking about, like the jiu-jitsu, how you focus on your mobility more. It's like I almost need something. I did a 30-day challenge.
You tagged me in it. Yeah, I saw it this morning.
Which you'll crush, obviously, naturally, you're already mobile. But for me, I got a hard time putting my shoes and socks on, and Ash is like, you need to start taking care of your body more. And it's like one of those things that it's the very last thing for me. Yeah. It's just like, I'll take care of everything else and everybody else. I'm writing fucking programming for people and all this stuff. And by the time it's like my time, I'm like, okay, I'm chilling.
Yeah. You don't feel like it,
And the mobility goes away, and it really starts to affect, it's just a few weeks. It's kind of like, it's very similar to stabilizer muscles. Yeah. Within just a few weeks of not doing mobility work, you're pretty ached up.
Yeah. I feel in my posing for my I've neglected the mobility. Like you said, you get done, with the 12-hour day working with people, and you're in the fitness just all day, every day, and you get done, you're like, man, I don't want it, and like you said, you just got to do it. If you want it, you got to do it. But man, I feel in my posing though, like just my ability to get in certain poses is just tough because I just lack the mobility.
Well, I learned so much about bodybuilding since I've been training Jay these last few months, dude. Watching all that goes into posing.
Yeah.
Like, because I still think that they're show ponies and we're racehorses. It just is what it is. You on your comp day and me on my comp day, we're two different animals.
I'm more like a pack mule, but
yeah. Donkey. I'm a fucking donkey. I'm a coal mining donkey, bro. But there's so much respect I have for it. Yep. I was actually in the changing room the restroom at your show, and I ran into Hamid, the dude who does my meal prep service, and they're always on me because he does shows. She's like, "When you gonna do a show, bro?" I said, "Whenever I stop being able to compete."
Yeah.
And he just like looked at me funny, but then he goes, "Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that."
Yeah.
I was just like, because it's just a different style of competition. Like when my body tells me like, "Go, bro, you can't move the same way I can move." And then hopefully I'm in masters, so I move with guys who suck at moving too. You know, that's always the goal. But it's cool. You know, it's still that would maybe be something I would get interested in, or if there was a season where my body needed, a year away from heavy training.
Yeah.
I'd want to hopefully be mature enough to listen to myself and maybe do a bodybuilding show or something like that. But
just so much
very inspiring. Like the amount of time he spends prepping his food, the amount of money he spends on his food because he's eating quality. Like you want to talk about it. I'm not always the most healthiest person. I'm putting myself under a lot of strain. You know what I mean? I'm in this space, and we pitch health and wellness, and you see a lot of like healthy or fitness people being like, just because you're strong or just because you're fit doesn't mean you're healthy.
Right.
And I'm like, you're right, because I'm not always the most healthiest person. Like sometimes the way I eat and shit. This dude, on the other hand, is healthy. Like he always says he's gonna live to be 120. I just don't doubt it. As long as he's gonna hit by a bus.
Yeah, right.
He's going to live to 120 because the amount of quality food. Like he's going to the best. Like his body is it's his temple. He's going to the best grocery stores to get his food. He's preparing them correctly. He doesn't have any bullshit on his food. He's straight.
Yeah.
That's what I like about bodybuilding is it forces you. Now you can get away with just your macros, but when I'm in prep, it's like I'm focused on 100% whole food. Like over the last 15 weeks, I've had one cheat meal.
Yeah.
However you want to define cheat meals, Five Guys, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like that's part of the reason I love bodybuilding so much, and just the whole process leading up to like it forces me to just be all in.
Be the best version of yourself.
It's cool the disciplines, though. You know what I mean? Like, because of the disciplines that you and I have, and you have particular in your field, and that I have particular in mine, and him and his. It's just like, it's totally different things. And Charlie and his, and Ash and his, and everyone in their own respected space. Everyone in his room's a boss. You know what I mean? To have, like, you have to have a level of discipline to get to that next level. Like, if Charlie's going to continue to be my camera guy, he has to get better. If I'm going to continually be in front of his camera, I got to get better.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's what we love, this whole team aspect. I built this team. Like, each of us have to be better in our own individual spaces. Like, if he doesn't start getting himself super peeled and looking jacked and shit, he stops growing his own personal brand, stops growing our brand. It's like, hey, bro, we have to have a talk. Like, we're all about betterment, and we're preaching about betterment. What are you doing to better yourself?
Right.
So it's really cool to see everyone stepping up to like, hey, here's where I'm pushing myself on this level. And you're like, watching him throughout this prep, I'm like, bro, it's my turn. Then I started realizing I got to level up, which has been really good leading to this competition, because I'm training at a whole new level that I've never trained before. And most of it's inspired by his being naked in the locker room. I'm getting inspiration from him flexing his biceps. I'm like, bro, he's in the gym all day training client shit, and the next thing you know, he's posing for 45 minutes while we're all just, chatting and having a good time. He's sweat pouring off him, trying to learn his pose and stuff. I'm like, man, that's he's doing the extra credit stuff, the stuff that you were talking about, reading the article while you're on the shitter rather than scrolling through Facebook. It's that extra credit stuff, but that's also kind of like you and I and Grant talked about on the podcast. That's eventually becomes the reason why people want to pay you.
For
sure.
sure.
You said you just started training in January. It's only March. You got 20 clients. Bro, you obviously built your pyramid has a massive foundation.
Well, people have been asking me for a long time, like, hey, we do this for you, we do that for me. And I just always kind of felt weird. I don't know why. I can't quantify it. I felt weird asking for money for something like that. So I would always be like, yeah, come train with me. Yeah, I'll help you out. Ain't no big deal. And then I'm like, well, if I could use my hobby to fund my hobby, then that's what I'm going to do. And now I don't know where it's going to take me from here, but I'm going to ride it.
Oh, absolutely. And that was me at first, too. I had a hard time training people because I was just so passionate about it. I loved it so much, I never really wanted to turn it into a job. Yeah. And that's something that I struggled with when I first opened Iron Valley Barbell, is it was becoming a job for me, and I was starting to not like owning a gym. Yeah. And I had to change my mindset. Like, bro, the reason you opened this place was to help people anyways. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it can become a little hassling, to collect money from people and get that whole situation worked out. But once you get some skin in the game, you start to understand. You're able to identify your emotions a lot better as well, and the reasons. But you can still be very passionate and generous with your information and still get paid.
Yeah.
like I think I'm extremely generous with my information when it comes
sure.
to lifting. Constantly posting on social media and shit. It's just like, and then if you want special, time and information with me, then that's what I get paid for.
And I also don't really try to hold anything back. So if somebody shoots me a message and they're like, "Hey, what kind of diet do you suggest for this?" I'll send them 5 or 6 articles, tell them kind of my outlook on things, and then I'll keep it rolling. I'm not going to be like, "Well, you need to come meet with me." Blah,
Well, that's
blah,
how you
blah,
get business long term too. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
then you get them in there, and then they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this guy knows his shit." Give me phenomenal resources. Now I'm in. You know what I mean? Like you can't just start
Yeah.
with the pitch. Like, hey, here's my services.
You're exactly right. One of my clients now actually just prepaid for like 3 months, which I prefer to do to kind of like make sure that I have them for 12 weeks. But he called me and he's like, "Hey, I know we kind of hadn't really talked in a while, but I'm on this like weight loss journey or whatever, and I made a pretty substantial bet at work that I could weigh in 25 pounds less than what I am right now in 30 days, and they'll match my investment so I can take my family to Disney World." Nice. I'm like, "Huh, all right, tight." He's like, what kind of advice do you have? And I was like, "All right, what have you been doing?" So I just helped the guy out because he was a buddy of mine. And so as time got closer, he'd been running keto for like 8 weeks, 6 weeks, and already lost like 40 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So like all the new guy losses were pretty well gone. So he lost like they weren't like super strict. He just had to do like an online weigh-in. And I was like, "Does it say anything in the rules about a water cut?"
Yeah.
Yep. And he was like, "Nope." I was like, "We got this." I was like, "Stay the course. Come get a kettlebell." This is where I actually first got the idea because he works 70 hours a week and goes to school.
Ooh,
So I was like,
I got a client like that.
yeah. I was doing my pre-screen questionnaire or whatever. I was like, "How much sleep do you get?" He was like, "You sleep about 3 hours a night." And I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "How are you alive, man?" Like,
Jay got great information on sleep.
You probably listen to the podcast, Andrew Walker, Joe Rogan.
I don't know if I haven't listened to Andrew Walker yet.
Dude, you got to listen to that
I
one.
will.
Oh, I'm
I'm stuck on Kevin Hart right now.
Man, this one's crazy. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many knowledge bombs on like the implications of not sleeping enough. It's like the people that can get away with less
Yeah.
than 6 hours a night. It's like 0.01% of
Yeah.
the population.
Out of
Yeah.
7.01.
And those people, like,
This guy
unless
might
you're
be
that
one.
person and you're getting that, like, you're gonna have serious implications
Yeah.
as you age.
But what is like a couple of the key things? Like it decreases performance by what percent was
Some
it?
crazy percentage.
It's like 20 or 30%.
Then it like increases your percentage for things like Alzheimer's and all these different diseases.
cortisone or something, doesn't it? Or
exponentially.
cholesterol
Like,
or something. What
yeah,
something raises?
all
Oh, wow.
kind. Man, you're gonna.
Well, I
love
told
that
him that's what he
podcast.
needed to prioritize. I was like, "Keep eating right, but you have to find a way to get sleep."
Yeah.
I was like, "We'll worry about your workouts after this. I'll send you this 15 or 20-minute thing a day so you can get your heart rate spiked." Because he started out like over 400 pounds. So he had to be 325 or something like that by the end of that month. And he had lost all but like 7 or 8 of it. And I was like, "This is easy." I was like, so it was like Monday, he had to weigh in Friday. I was like, "Go buy you 10 gallons of distilled water. 2 gallons today, 2 gallons tomorrow, one gallon after that, blah, blah, blah." And he pissed most of it out. Like he had like 10 minutes in the sauna. Like, so it really, I don't even really consider it a water cut. It was just playing with his salt. So,
Yeah, dude, just manipulating your water.
But then he was like, "Hey, check your PayPal." So I checked it, and I was like, "That doesn't really match any of my rates." I was like, "Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Are you wanting just to pick up from here?" He's like, "No, man, that's just for you." I was like, "This is awesome."
He offered for free.
Yeah.
That's super
Yeah.
cool, man.
And I did not expect that at all. And it fucking saved the day. Like, it was just one of those weeks, like, we're almost till Friday. We're going to make it. And it was like a Tuesday. He's like, "Check your PayPal." I'm like,
That's cool.
"We'll be
That's
all
how
right."
life works.
Dude, and that just goes to show you that if you just react, people worry
Yeah.
so much about plans and like, how am I gonna get paid for this and how much am I gonna get paid for it? If you just do things out of goodness and well-being to want to help others, it
Yeah.
always comes back. And sometimes it's not always monetary amount, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not always money, but it always comes back, and the fulfillment that you get for him losing the 80 pounds
Yeah.
is probably far outweighs the
Sure.
cash that you got.
And I told him too. I was like, "Listen," because he wants to. He's going to Disney not this summer, but the following summer. He wants to be 250 when he goes to Disney. And I was like, "We're gonna get there, but it's not gonna be fun. It's not gonna be comfortable. You have to think about it. You're in your 30s. It's taking you 30 years to get fat. We have to work on getting you less fat. Like, you're not gonna be a bodybuilder by next summer. Like, it's just not gonna happen." I think Anthony shared that meme the other day of like, if it takes you 10 years to get this big, it should take you
Yes.
X amount of years. I've felt that way for a long time.
Absolutely.
Like, it goes back to what we were talking about, playing the long game, especially with Strongman. Like, I've competed against specifically a guy here from up here in Indiana, super strong guy, big fan of his. We competed at 200 pounds together. And then he bumped up to 231, and he added like 150, 175 pounds to his deadlift in like 3 or 4 months. Well, I'm kind of playing the long game, trying not to get injured. I'm trying to stay safe. And like obviously he hasn't been injured or anything like that. He just got really fucking strong. But in the back of my head, I'm like, how long is that sustainable?
Absolutely.
And I hope nothing for the best for the guy. I really like him. But I'm just kind of trying to play the long game. You get there safely.
When you watch guys get extremely strong, extremely fast, in 130 pounds, whatever is on the deadlift, squat, whatever your lift is your ligaments, is the stabilizer muscles, are all of this going to be able to handle the load that you're going to be under, and is your body, especially if you're bumping up a weight class. If you're going up 30 pounds and you're doing it in a year, it's possible. It's going to hurt. Your body's not used to carrying that much weight. I just moved from like a 188 to 193, my typical weight was. Now I'm waking up. The other morning I woke up at 213 because Ash fed me a bunch of donuts before bed. But
Come on, Ash.
Felt good, didn't it?
real good. But now I'm waking up at like 208. Just the 10 pounds to 16 pounds that I've put on.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. My lower back. She's always making fun of me because when I stand, I'm like this. She's like, "What are you standing like that for?" I'm like, "Babe, my belly's just like causing my back to ache."
Okay, so this goes back to what I mentioned earlier. Do you see a massage therapist? Have you ever had your psoas released?
Yeah, most definitely have.
Okay.
So I see a sports med doc, chiropractor. He does like ART, scraping, cupping, dry needling. So I'm getting that type of treatment.
Right.
But I'm not getting a massage as nearly as frequent as what I should be.
So I wrestled in college. My freshman year of college, I wrestled. And ever since wrestling, and then I kind of transitioned into jiu-jitsu from there, I've always had a lot of trouble with my left hip. And it had kind of went away for a little bit. And then when I started split jerking, instead of doing push press, it came back. And I'm like,
Your split jerk is crazy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
So
that.
just like jealous of that.
Well, I stole it from Rob Kearney. It was his idea. So.
Every time I try to do a split jerk, I look retarded.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm like, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah. I mean, it just ended up being my most efficient way to move weight. So that's...
You're such an athletic guy, man.
appreciate
You
that.
move really well, and the way you split jerk, it's so fucking boom, it's fast.
Yeah.
You remind me of the dude, I just know his Instagram name, World's Strongest Gay, who just hit that.
Rob Kearney. That's what I was talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
What a fucking dude. This
Yeah.
guy, 475 was it?
Yeah, 472, new American record.
On
Yeah.
a log. What do you weigh?
I don't know. He's got the American record at 105 kilos at like 450.
Like
he competed at 200 with us.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He's like ridiculous strong,
Yeah.
dude. Like to see and he split jerks it.
It's so efficient.
And it's just like there's no wasted energy. It looks like that barely moves. It's just like a thing of, when you see something like big squat or deadlift, you're like, whoa, you're inspired. It's the same thing with this log. And I think, in my opinion, the log is the greatest test of human strength because it requires so much. You still got, if you're doing 475 your head, you still got to deadlift it up.
Nuts.
You gotta pick it up first off the ground. And
Yeah.
you're in an inefficient position to deadlift in. You're already over top of the bar, and most guys can't deadlift 475, let alone get it, roll it up the chest, and then press.
Especially in ollies, you'll see a lot of people
in ollies.
be in such a terrible position because they'll use the log in powerlifting shoes. And that's,
So you use ollies?
No, I use wrestling shoes.
Okay, it's about.
Because it helps me set back into my... Because I noticed most of the logs that I was missing, it was because I was in a bad position from the clean, which was all back to the pick. So I just removed the heels.
Will you run us through how like your cues for the log?
So I think about deadlifting. I would IQ in my head to tighten my lats and break the log over my shins. I keep it attached to my shins until it breaks, and then I set down kind of under it. I want it on my belt, like almost where my power belly is. Like I want it up top. And when I go, I'm staying connected to the log and I'm throwing my elbows
rowing
through.
it into you.
No, I deadlift up. Like you'll see a lot of people, they'll grab it and they'll row it into their lap. I don't feel like I get my most return on that.
So you're deadlifting it, and then once it's in your chest, you're holding it firm to your chest, right?
Yeah, I don't really think about rolling it up. I keep it here and I turn underneath it.
Okay.
And once I'm in there, I have just a split second, split jerk. I make sure my lats are tight, and I keep my breath I breathe in my lap, but then I don't breathe again until the weight is overhead. I do not breathe on my chest.
Yeah, I learned that mistake quick.
Yeah. So, because I just lose all my tightness.
Yeah.
So, when I go for that initial dip, the only thing on my mind, like it just screams, commit. Like, I'll die under that log, but I'm gonna be under it, whether it locks out or not. And you'd be surprised, like your mind kind of takes over. So I'll stick it, and then the same way Rob does. Like usually I don't stick to the lockout, and then my triceps finish it. So I do a lot of tricep overloads to build that top end tricep strength.
What are a few exercises you're doing for tricep development?
Again, a lot of those strict presses and stuff like that. I love my favorite tricep accessory movement is close grip axle floor press.
Yeah, we're big on floor press.
Humbling.
Yeah.
The first time I did it, I'm like, 4 sets of 10 will be all right. And because I just blow them up. I do a lot of dips too. So I just kept doing drop sets, and I had somebody dig me out from under 115 pounds.
Really?
And I've benched like 405. Like I'm a decent bencher. You know what I mean? But like I had somebody dig me out from under 115 because I couldn't get out from under it.
Really?
Yeah, they're smoked.
Yeah, dude, they're such a humbling exercise, the floor press. We do a lot of those. We do a lot of static pauses. So static pause is the same thing as floor press, except for you're just coming down like a 3-board press, but don't use a board.
Yeah.
Just pause, 1, 2, hold. I kind of developed that exercise. I didn't make it up, but I started focusing more on that sort of exercise. I was going to Westside Barbell a lot, and we were doing like lots of board presses and stuff. And I was training in gear, bench 500 in a shirt, but I really like training raw, obviously naturally, because I'm in a raw sport now. But when I was doing the exercise, I was realizing I wasn't, since the triceps slightly deactivate when you're doing board press. It touches the board, so not much, but it also causes a little bit of strain on the shoulders and on the elbows. But when you do static pauses, you're keeping the triceps loaded throughout the duration of the movement.
Okay.
Here's why floor press is still a better carryover, though, I think, because you're pressing the bar hard off your chest, so you have momentum, and then you're catching. So when you catch, the triceps have to load immediately. They weren't already previously loaded to the extent that they're going to be once you catch. So I think doing any type of like pause dumbbell work on the floor to slightly deactivate the triceps, then reactivate them would be a better carryover for like split jerking. But I just want to throw that exercise out there. We love the static pauses.
I'll play with that for sure.
It's cool. It's going to develop the triceps a lot more as well.
And I like the axle, so I'm not tempted to engage my lats. So I can't wrap my hands, my little baby Burger King hands around the
Dude, I
axle.
use that same.
Yeah. So
Don't I always use the whopper hands?
So it's all triceps, and I do a lot of dips, like a lot of dips.
Do you do weighted dips?
Yes.
How much weight can you use?
I've used the 106. Like if I'm using
dumbbell,
heavy,
okay.
yeah, that's the heaviest kettlebell we have is 106.
We should do triceps today.
Okay.
You training today with us?
Yeah.
Dude, we should. I love dips, dude. Dips are like that. When I used to box, I would do nothing but dips.
Dips are awesome.
I would do hundreds and
I don't know why people neglect them. I guess because they suck.
I think they suck, and it hurts the guy's elbows and shoulders a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the clients that I train, they complain about their elbows and shoulders, but it's a double-edged sword because I think a lot of people are pussies.
Yeah.
And that's going to be 100% honest. Like, oh, that exercise hurts. I don't want to do it. I'm like,
It's probably because they're doing a lot of other bullshit wrong.
yeah, exactly that. And it's just I think people don't always realize that some exercises we do aren't going to feel good.
Yeah.
It
So,
just
like-
is. It's just not everything's going to be like, oh, that was fun and easy. Like, squatting heavy is not fun and easy. Carrying 700 pounds on your fucking back's not fun and easy. Like, there's a level of pain that you have to tolerate.
Well, also too, like I wave mine. So like 1 week I'll do heavy, next week I'll do just a ton of reps. So I'll do a failure set. Like I'll pop up there and knock out 40, 50 dips. And then I'll put a slingshot on, like when I'm done fighting for my life in the corner. I'll put a slingshot on and I'll do another failure set. So I still get the bounce out of the bottom, but I'm still overloading the triceps at the top.
Probably a great carrier for log. I can see that.
I feel like it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's all a neutral grip. And I do a ton of what's it called? The Swiss bar, multi-grip bar.
Yeah, like football bar or whatever.
Yeah, so anytime I can get into those handles, like I work them from all the handles. Like I just constantly am turning things over.
It's funny. We got a Titan Fitness pull down row. It's a multi-grip one. But so we've been doing, since we've started incorporating, obviously our training now is for Strongman.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot more neutral grip stuff, obviously for the log. It seems like logs in them is all competitions right now, it seems like at least. So we're using the multi-grip. Yeah, we're using the multi-grip for a lot of exercises in pressing as well. We like that football bar, the bar you're talking about, Swiss bar, whatever you want to call it. And we'll hook up bands to it as well and kind of use it like a earthquake bar. We have an earthquake bar, but I like getting in that neutral grip because the handles are moving.
Yep.
Anyone out there who's suffering from keeping their wrist in position when they're bench pressing, remember your wrist don't want to be 100% straight or bent. You want them right in between, putting that pressure right in the meat of your palm. if you're having problems with keeping your wrist straight, a lot of people do a lot of wrist curls and stuff, and that's going to work. It's great. But really what you're trying to do is strengthen your wrist to be strong statically. And I think a lot of people miss this. Like on deadlift as well. So let me finish that phrase. So what you're going to want to do is do more football bar work, because it's going to shake naturally. It's going to develop them wrist strength.
I need that.
But a lot of people, when they're doing any sort of exercise, like say deadlifts, squats, when you're in a static position, you're training your body, the supportive muscle groups such as your lats. When you're deadlifting, your lats really ain't doing much work. There's no movement really with the lats. They just have to support the load to keep the bar from going away from you. You have to pull the bar into you, right? So when you're deadlifting, pulling the bar up. A lot of people are like, man, my lats can't stay engaged. It's because your lats can't stay engaged in the static position because you're not training lats to be strong statically. Does that make sense? So when we're rowing, we're here, and we're here, but you only get to the lockout, you hold for 1 second, then you go back. But whenever you're doing a deadlift, it might take 2 or 3 seconds, right?
So do you program snatch grip deadlifts for that?
You can do snatch grip deadlifts for great exercise, but we'll actually program exercises, which is great. It's still a static exercise, which is phenomenal. We love those. But we'll do things like bands, or so we'll get a band and we'll pull it and we'll have to hold it like a banded row, and you have to hold it for 30 seconds. And that's 1 rep. You'll do 3 reps. But you're training your lat to be strong in a static position, so you're training your lat to stay in that position for a duration of time, and you're training it, at a 30% of your max or last 20% of your max even, but you're training it for time. And we'll also do like sled work. So you get the sled. I think you've actually done this before. You'll grab the sled, a small sled, and you have a rope attached to it, and you go and you pull it in, and you'll hold it, and you'll drag the sled back, 30 feet, and drag it back another 30 feet. Really lightweight, might only be 25 pounds on a sled, but now you're training your lats to be strong in a static position. The carryover we've had with guys who have bad lat engagement, it's been so effective for us, man. So anybody out there who's, say you pull on the deadlift bar, and every time you pull on a bar, you see your upper back starts to round as you're pulling, and your arms are the bar's getting away from your shoulders over top of the bar, you're probably losing lat. I hate to say lat activation, but really what's happening is your lats just ain't strong to sustain the load. Add those exercises, and it's going to help a ton. And
one thing that I do, that I program for my clients, is I'll have them do just super basic cable rows and lat pull downs. But I'll put in like huge, I'll show you the notebook, like it's in huge capital letters, light with like 17 exclamation marks, and hold the contraction. So like I'll make them hold for a 3 count or whatever the count is. And then.
Now, you've been doing a lot more of this in your training. We've been programming a lot more like mind to muscle stuff. Right. I think a lot of strength athletes neglect this mind to muscle connection exercises.
Because they suck.
They suck, and we all want to be like, monkeys and lift fucking heavy. You want to be gorillas, but like, man, there's so much to be said in understanding how to do bodybuilding type concept exercises, especially when it comes to mind to muscle connection stuff.
Especially for beginners as well, right? Because you see constantly, like when guys come into the gym, and they don't really have a ton of education, a ton of background. You see them on lat pull downs, for example. They'll load up, half the fucking thing, and they're just yanking it down. You know what I mean? It's like you're not getting anything out of it. Like, take a step back. Like we talked about earlier, build the foundation, get the mind to muscle, and then your ceiling is just going to increase exponentially.
I just increase the time under tension as long as I can. So I'll make a work set be between 30 and 45 seconds, and they're just smoked. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot of weight. And that's how I train, too. Like, all of this stuff isn't just stuff that I read on T Nation or wherever I'm reading articles from. Like, this is all stuff that I've found, and I've watched other people that are a lot smarter than me. Like, hey, this is why I've struggled with it, or this is how I've struggled with this. This is how I've kind of fixed it. This is how I've assessed this. I'm like, well, that's what we're going to do. And one thing that I program for a lot of my non-strongman athletes is I program rope hammer curls, and I'll make them do a 5 count to the contraction, and then I'll make them hold a 5 count at the top, and then do a 5 count on the way down for sets of 5.
We've been doing a lot of stuff like that for my
training. I just do 5 sets of 5 for 5 seconds on the way up, holds, and then back down. And that's all I program for their bicep work. And they're like, dude, I've never had a bicep pump like this. Like,
total change of pace.
Do you ever do minute long trainings? Like, you do like tricep push down?
You're going to love it.
So we'll do like tricep push downs, and we'll train it for 1 minute. So something right now we're focusing on Jay's program. Jay actually just dropped an ebook on nutrition, but we also have a 4-week program in it. So say week 1, we're focusing on this is different concepts in Strongman. So all the Strongman guys out there listening to this, or powerlifters, different concepts. But when we're training on week 1, we're doing like cut training, for our main accessory and our sub-accessory movements. Our main movement still like it's somewhat of a heavier compound, depends on how far out we are from a, if we're super close to a competition, he's in a caloric deficit right now a ton. So I don't have a bunch of hard compound movements on him because it just trashes his body.
It's taxing.
And he's not recovering efficiently enough to be able to continue to keep himself growing. But something that we do focus on is like if we're doing TUT training for a few exercises, our finisher might be like a drop set, like extremely high volume. So we're stimulating the muscles differently all the time. With his program prior to training with me, it's like the prodigal son in the Bible. He had to run away to realize that the grass was actually greener where he was at. So he had a different coach, which is great. And I always encourage all my guys, I said to fuck with Jay, to encourage him to get a different coach for training.
Yeah.
So he got a coach, and we were about 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out.
Yeah.
And we started realizing that like he was just soft. Like he looked good. Like for the average guy, I'm like, man, he's a pretty good looking dude, attractive.
His body was puffy.
Body was looks like puffy though. He didn't have a hard, dense look. I'm like, you're not doing enough volume. I was like, if you were training yourself, what would you do? And like I started pointing things out. Like his upper chest needed more development, but his coach didn't have no upper chest work to develop, and he was only doing time under tension training exercises, only doing 4x4, 4 seconds down, 4 seconds up. I said, there's not enough variety in this. That your body's just adapting to what's happening. The body is the coolest thing that we'll ever own is our body.
No
and
doubt.
People just because we got it so easily, like babies. Everyone wants to have a baby because you can just do it so easily. You just got to stick your dick in something, or have someone stick your dick in you, and then you can have a baby. It's very easy, but there's a level of responsibility that comes to the same thing with your body. There's a level of responsibility to taking care of yourself, and if you're in this sport of looking good or strength training yourself, you have to hold that with a high level of responsibility.
You're a blank canvas, and it's up to you what you're going to put on that canvas. Whether you're going to be an artist, whether you're going to be a musician, whether you're going to be a powerlifter or a strongman or a bodybuilder, like, what is your fucking canvas going to look like? Like, you don't get a redo.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a fucking mulligan.
It's just ain't your practice life.
Yeah.
Ash and I say it all the time. This is your life. So we train his training up, and dude, his body responded. Show him the picture.
Yeah.
His body responded, dude, so amazing. Just within a few weeks, his quads had no definition in them. His quad just looked like a singular quad. It wasn't. You couldn't even say quad. Right?
It was just one bulking.
It'd be like just.
It was one piece.
What was the singular word for quad? What's the singular word? Just single? Singular?
Unit.
Uniquad. That's what it was, dude. It's hilarious. But so we just changed his training up a little bit. So right now, but we're getting real specific right now. We're doing more.
6 weeks. That was right when we started.
And all we did is change training. We didn't change
It's a big fucking difference.
food. Everything was the same, right?
What was your weight difference?
It's only like 5 pounds. Wow. Yeah, that's the craziest part. 5-6 pounds max.
Which is
depending on the
crazy.
day.
You know what I mean? Just to see that stylistic of
And
training.
the training is just like, I mean, literally within a week, 2 weeks, we saw a difference. Within 2 weeks, we saw a huge.
And you didn't
huge
change
difference.
anything with your diet at all?
So the diet changed as well.
Okay.
It went from a higher carb approach to a little bit of a lower carb approach.
Yeah.
But I would say that's a very minimal portion of
And then we went
the
back to
reasoning
high carb.
behind
We're
that.
back to a little bit higher
Now I'm
carb
starting to
now.
increase my carbs again. It's kind of playing around with the calories are still the same and trying to figure out what works best for my body. But I'd say 99% of that's from the training.
The
Hell
biggest beef I have with, I guess, local, I'm going to say local, but lower level coaches who are training guys for physique and bodybuilding shows is they're thinking more on body shrinkage and how lean can I get this guy, or rather how full I can make this guy. So something I've been telling Jay about, like, it's bodybuilding. We're supposed to be building our body. And Stan Efferding ties a really good skit on this. He talks about it in one of his videos. I just really kind of clung to that, and I was like, I believe that same exact thing. Like when you're going into the show, like he's growing, he's getting bigger as he's going into the show. That's what we're looking like. As he's getting leaner, he's still putting on muscle. It's trying to find that formula, and it's been hard for us because this is the first time we've worked together. We've done powerlifting obviously together and stuff. This is the first time we worked together on bodybuilding, and it's been challenging because like the other day I programmed 4 sets of sprints for him, and he's like, bro, I could have did more. The next day, he's like, man, I'm fucking fried from them
And
sprints.
I'm glad we didn't do more than 4.
4 sets of 20 seconds.
Because it strains the body. He hasn't done sprints since high school.
7
Yeah.
years.
And now all of a sudden he's doing sprints. So it's like the body's going to respond so differently. And I think what a lot of coaches are doing, though, they're focused. I tell Jay this all the time. I said, when you matter want to go on stage, you already look like way better than the average guy. So the average person viewing this is not going to be like, oh, Jay wasn't prepared for a show. I'd rather someone go on stage with a little bit more muscle mass and not quite as conditioned rather than being, if this is a thing, overly conditioned and lose a bunch of muscle mass into a show.
When you're an early, competitor like myself, maybe now 5 years from now, when I have way more muscle mass, it's a little bit different, right? But when you don't have a ton of muscle mass relative, I think it'd be better to, like you said, go into it fuller and healthier and a little bit more muscle than it being a little bit leaner.
Well, people don't think about this as long game shit. It's just like strongman. Like you can go. I never expected to go into my first strongman competition or the first year to win any shows. It was just like I'm here to fucking get better. You know, I mean, that this is a long term thing. I got to progress myself into. So when you're talking about bodybuilding specific, the idea is to eventually get your pro card. To get your pro card, you got to be a big mother. Like these guys are big. Your weight class is what 200 plus pounds
Goes
of
up
muscle.
to 212 and
212.
my height.
So you're talking they're fitting 212 pounds, and it's muscle. They're 240 in the off season kind of shit, 230, 240, cutting down into these weights. So when you kind of think in that avenue of things, if you're shrinking your muscles going into a show, you might as well just fucking not even done any shows.
For sure.
And just train your ass off and get yourself a lot bigger.
Yeah. And that is kind of switching gears from bodybuilding, not to detract too much, but it's the same principle in Strongman. You'll see people post on Starting Strongman all the time, hey, I'm getting ready to do my first contest. What weight class should I cut to? I'm like, no, man.
30-pound weight cut is their first
I compete at 200, and I walk at like 202. Like, if I'm not an Epsom salt away, or an Epsom salt bath away from my weight class, then I'm going to be in trouble. Like, I cut to 175 for Worlds last year, so I started in September, did a real slow, like eating right, fasted cardio, blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, I'm going to see where I'm at against these guys down here. And went down there, and I can honestly say I've never had such a good training camp. Like, didn't miss a meal, like, didn't have a cheat meal, like, didn't miss a workout. Hit all my sets, hit all my reps. Everything went perfect. Went down there and got my ass beat. I just didn't have that extra gear that I normally have. But every bit of that was worth it because I wasn't able to flip the switch until the very last event. And I'll show you guys the video. You can see on the video when it flips. So it was like a keg wheelbarrow medley. So you had to carry a keg down. It was like 250 pounds. Carry the keg down, and this is a cue that I scream to everybody. Get it high on the chest. Don't carry it on your hips so you can move. And lean back. Like, lean back. Otherwise, you're going to eat shit. And that's exactly what I did. I don't know. Like, they said go, and I was like, oh, we're just going to go through the motion. Like, I was in striking distance of the top 10, which means I would have made day 3. I was sitting in, like, 12th or 13th. But take off on this keg, boom, drop it and eat shit. And I see everybody run past me. I'm like, gah! And the flip. And the switch just flipped. I'm like, oh, here's my extra gear. Got the keg back up to the right position, finished it, put it in the wheelbarrow, carried it to the sandbag, and you can see me gaining on all these other people. And I still got beat by everybody in my heat on that event. Ended up placing like 16th, which I was like obviously super disappointed in when you put that much work and effort into it. But I know that extra gear is there now. So I'm like, we got it now. So now it's just a matter of finding it more often and being able to turn it on.
What do you think's your greatest accomplishment in strength sports?
Ooh, that's tough.
That's such a relative question too, because for me, it's like the most things would like. It's never like been a competition. It's like a number I've hit or like a training day. It's always been something a little bit different for me because lifting weights. I talked about some podcasts before. Like I've never really cared about sanctioned competition or anything. For me, it's always been about just being strong. And my greatest accomplishment, I think, was when I hit 405. It was probably the happiest I've ever been. My 405 or my 600-pound deadlift. Because I chased a 600-pound deadlift for like years.
Yeah, I'd say I just went to South Carolina and competed in a USS record breaker show and set the log record for USS.
Dope. Congrats on that, man.
Appreciate that, man. But I'd say, because I went down there with 3 goals. To break the log record, that was number 1. Like, I'm definitely going to break the log record. That's what I want to do. But there was another guy down there named Justin Weaver, and Justin Weaver's a monster at 200 pounds, and he's going to be at Nationals. But I had seen him one motion of 300 at our weight class. And I'm like, all right, cool. I guess he's going to push me to 350 then. We'll see what happens. So I had to kind of go into this contest with, because there's only 3 events, so you kind of got to be smart where your attempts are, because everything was a max. You had 3 attempts on log, 3 attempts on the deadlift, and 2 attempts on a farmer's. Everything was a max. So went out, won the log, got the record. I'm like, all right, well, now it's about qualifying for Nationals. I had to be top 3 to qualify for Nationals. So I had to beat out a couple other people. So went out. I knew this. I'd already seen him pull like 7-something in a suit. So he pulled his opener at like 660 or something like that. Well, most I've ever pulled was 655. So I pulled a conservative 605 and rested. Went to Farmers. And we'd all warmed up with the Farmers handles with tape on them, and then they took the tape off, and I didn't know. So I opened up at 275. All of us zeroed, except for one guy who opened. He had like a 240-pound log press. He had a 530-pound deadlift, and was the only one in our group to finish the Farmers and beat us all. I was like, Mr. fucking consistent. I love it.
That's what I love about Strongman.
I was not upset one iota. It was his first contest. I was like, dude, I'm proud of you, man. Good job. That's all you got to do is stay consistent.
Yeah.
You never got out of your depth. Obviously, we did. So you taught me something here today. Like, I wasn't mad. Like, I'd have probably been a little bit more upset had I not set that record and qualified for nationals.
Right.
Like, all things, like, if I'd have drove all the way to South Carolina and those two things not happened, yeah, I'd probably been a little bitter. But that's what it boils down to.
It is, man. That's why I love so much about Strongman, dude.
Yeah.
It's learning the competition.
Yep.
Kind of how I've trained, though, thus far. I mean, at the end of the day, my end goal was to compete at Arnold, to compete at Nationals, to be at very, very high level. So every time I compete, I haven't played conservative yet. I've played balls to the wall just because I'm like, I know once I get to the national stage, for me to do anything, to even place fucking top whatever, I got to be balls to the wall every single exercise. So I've kind of just had that approach since I started. I started training Strongman last May. So I got about a year-ish. No, we had a competition last May. So I started training in March, April. Yeah, in March, I started training Strongman. So a year and a couple months now.
It's addicting as fuck.
Dude, so much fun,
It's
man.
the bug, man.
And what's funny is my whole gym was like powerlifting. We had a couple strongman people. I switched to strongman. Now everybody in the gym's doing strongman. Everyone's just like seeing how much fun it is. When you're when you're outside throwing a 30-pound, 35-pound sandbag over top of a yoke 15 feet in the air, you're like, oh, that looks interesting. I want to
Are you
be
doing
part of it.
Oh, no, you're getting ready for Beast. I was
Yeah.
going to ask if you were doing USS Nats.
No, I haven't done a USS show yet.
Yeah.
So I'd like to actually do
I
a
like
USS
them. Some
show.
people are real, like, strict down the lines. I only do USS or only do Strongman Corp. I'm not picky.
So far
I
in
just like
strength
the people.
sports, no one's paid me. I've had no federation pay me yet. Since no federations pay me, I'm not going to be loyal to people who ain't loyal to me. It's very simple. People are like, I told you sirens always go off here.
Every time.
But something, I told you all the time, but something that's funny is like when powerlifting the community is really big on it, I'm still new to Strongman, so I don't know like the ins and outs, like the federations, and like I hear, obviously guys give me their opinions, but nothing's affected me to the level yet that I've had to choose a federation. Every time I've gone to a competition between Davey, the dude who put our show on, what's his name?
Derek Stone.
Those
are two of the best people in all of Strongman.
Such fucking, like, I met Mark Clevenger, I met
Mark's
Jim
super nice
Beebe,
guy.
like these guys, like since I've been in, everyone who's done a show, I'm like, these are fucking cool guys.
Yeah.
Like I haven't met anybody yet who's even given me a thought that I was just like, would want to have any bitter feelings towards the sport yet.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the federations, I just haven't been invested enough. However, when it comes to federations and powerlifting, I was in it a lot longer, so I got to see a lot more of the shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I go to invite-only meets because you had to have a certain total and shit. I get there, and it's just like, there's the golden kids, you know what I mean? I could have been one of the golden boys, and I could have been one of that guy if I just would have just butted up to because the promoter had me on Facebook, and he'd hit me up, you know, it was, but I just never liked it. I was just like, dude, I don't want you to call me a little bit good on depth if it's not depth. You know what I mean? So I've never just wanted to be a part, and not saying that happens, but it happens. Absolutely it does. But I never wanted to be a part of something like that. And I realized IPF never paid me any money. USPA never paid me. None of the federations, IPL, IPF, none of them ever paid any money.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are y'all so loyal to people who ain't loyal to you, just want your cash? They're not giving anything in return. And guys are like, well, because the depth is right. And this is, I'm like, fuck you. It doesn't matter.
I've done, I have to check my list, but I've done 17 contests, and I've made money one time. And it was Christina Bangma. Do you know her? She's pretty
from
close.
Indy, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's Indy, but she's around here.
Yeah.
But I came
Blonde
up
girl.
Yep.
They're up
Incredible
north,
athlete.
not very far from here.
Yeah, Huntington. That's it.
Huntington,
Incredible athlete. Like, I really look up to her in the sport. Like, you name it, she's done it. Incredible athlete. But she put on a show, and it was actually like my first real win. Like, so that one felt really good. But she calls me up there, and she like hands me the sword, because Strongman always does like swords or something like that. And she hands me an envelope. I'm like, what is this? And she's like, you won money. And I was like, for what? Like, I was just so shook. Like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't expect it to be that way. And like, to this day, that's the only one I've made money on.
And that was just the promoter, the girl, right?
Yeah.
Who ran the show giving you money. That wasn't the actual federation, was it?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to get. Like, the federations don't pay out.
Yeah.
Like, you hardly ever see, like, USPA's become such a monster, and I don't know anything about their logistics. But I'm like, how are these guys not paying some money out to these guys yet? Like, people are dedicating their entire life to promote you and to be a part of an organization that you have, and you've yet to pay them out. I think that'll be something really cool. And that's something we talk about very frequently at Iron Valley Barbell. Our next step is to get a new facility. But once we get a new facility, we're going to get real big and actually hosting full powerlifting meets, full strongman competitions.
Awesome.
And our goal is to pay. That's because we want to attract the top level guys. Like, we don't want people coming to our show. Well, like, we don't want just like, oh, it's a small local show. Like, no, we want to pay our athletes so that they want to be a part of what we're like. At the end of the day, I think we're in a position, we're building ourselves in a position to not have to make money off of events, to have events for fun. We can make money off selling shirts or something at an event. You know, we know we can do that. That's cool. That's worth our time. But being able to create an atmosphere where we can actually pay people, that's going to attract top level athletes to come out. And that's at the end of the day what we want. We want to have top athletes. That's another reason, obviously, our friendship that you're on the podcast as well, because you're a top level athlete. We want to be surrounded by people who are going to make us better.
Right.
You know, that's a great way to provide that.
And again, thank you for those words for sure. But that brings up, there's a big contest at the end of this month. They were talking about on Starting Strongman. They're doing like $15,000 worth of payouts. It's in North Carolina. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. It's like the Big Something Classic, which is like every strongman competition is named the Something Big Classic. But so yeah, he might be onto something there.
That most definitely I think he's onto something. And at the end of the day, it's $15,000, and it's only $15,000. People dedicate their whole life for this. So like, really on a grand scale, what's $15,000? But at the grand scale, it's like for that promoter, it's a lot because you got to make sure the sponsors, everything's got to come through to be able to pay these guys out, whatever that looks like for that.
That $100 that she gave me or whatever I made, I don't remember what it was. I think it was a $100 bill though, but that was like the best $100 bill I'd ever received.
Oh,
like,
you probably fucking
I
hang
get
that shit
paid
on
for
the wall.
this? Yeah. Like,
you get paid to do something you love. You feel
I
like a
know.
professional athlete in those days.
Yeah.
I feel like all professionals.
I posted a status out of that. I was like, so I'm a pro now, right? Like, this is
It's official.
Yeah.
I think that should be something that would be really cool and inspiring. I think it'd also grow the sport a ton. That if you were a professional, like when you get your pro card, like if you had payout shows, and I don't know if Strongman does it or how it works.
Strongman Strongman Corporation specifically just kind of jerked the rug out from under their pros. I don't know if you follow Terry Rady and Anthony Furman. They've been talking about it a lot.
I would follow Terry, obviously,
Yeah.
but his shit, like when I read his Facebook post, he just cracks me up. I was like, I can't get into it. There's like 90 comments.
Yeah.
And I spend like 30 minutes trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. So I just call him. I'm like, yo, what's going on with everything, bro?
Yeah. Well, I knew you were close to Terry. That's why I mentioned him specifically. But up until this year, the middleweight pros could compete in any open pro division. And so they could compete for money, and then they changed that this year. So
wait. So the open, sorry, what was that?
So if you won your middleweight pro card, then you could compete in heavyweight pro divisions.
Okay.
So Beast of the Bluegrass, I don't know if they still are, but they were having a pro division there.
Yeah.
That was for heavyweights. Well, now we have Anthony Furman living in Fort Knox, which is like 20 minutes outside of Louisville. Now we have Terry living in Louisville. So they were getting all their middleweight buddies in. I think that's what it was looking like. And they were all going to show up and they were going to compete. Around the same time, Dion changed it to where they're not allowed to compete now. So that cuts their...
What's the reason behind competing? Not being able to compete.
Yeah, ask Terry. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Because he's struggling with it right now, too, on finding kind of his direct... And obviously, I don't want to speak for him. But now they're limited to 2 shows a year that they can compete at.
See, that's not fun.
No.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I think we've all kind of got into this space because it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
I
winning a
compete
show
frequently.
Yeah, winning a show is great. It's great, but the experience behind it all is way cooler than any show.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's led to experiences like this, you know? So that's the whole thing. To be able to rob somebody from that doesn't seem right, but there's always 2 stories to everything.
Yeah.
It'd be, what I'd really like to have is like have these people on the podcast and ask, like, what's going on, and get different opinions. And because there's decisions I have to make in my business that doesn't always make sense to people on the outside. But in the inside, to us, we're like, that's the way it has to be because of X, Y, Z. So you never know what the stories might hold in either way. I never like to pass judgment until I get the full story.
For sure,
on both
and
ends.
that's why I kind of was like tiptoeing around it.
Yeah, you never know.
That's why I said you'll kind of have to talk to him because he'll know definitely more of the inner workings.
Yeah.
Because I'm only seeing what people are posting on social media.
That's all I see too.
Yeah,
and I've been
so-
seeing a little bit of that on Terry's thing over the last couple of months. He
Yeah.
put something out about it, like we can't, compete at the pro level. Why get a pro card? And I'd feel that exact same way if I was limited to 2 shows a year and I had to travel far for him and
Yep.
stuff. It's expensive sport. And if you're gonna make me travel to go to a show because I can only compete at 2, that's very. You're trying to kick me out of sport. Like I'm trying to get away from it if I can only do that.
And it also, too, like publicly, Dion's only response was, well, you can compete heavyweight open and try to win a heavyweight pro card. And Anthony Furman was like, okay, cool, bet. So now I guess he's going to try to go win a heavy. I mean, because there's a few of them like Anthony Clayton.
I mean,
think
these guys, that Anthony Furman, I've saw him on social media. And Terry, like these guys are strong as most heavyweights, right? I mean, they're really fucking strong.
Terry's
cats.
won heavyweight contests.
Yeah.
Nick Canby could probably win a heavyweight pro card. Not probably. Nick Canby's strong enough to win a heavyweight pro card. But all those top level guys, they're just incredible athletes. And they're just balls to the wall. Like Anthony Furman at Worlds this year won 5 out of the first 6 of it. Like there was only 6 events, and he won 5 of them. He didn't even have to do stones.
What a badass.
What a badass man.
That's such a badass, dude. You love hearing things like that. Jay, I'll see you, bro. Thanks for tuning
See
in.
you, man.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
Great.
Yeah.
Get it, bro. Tyler, this was great having you
Hey,
on,
man, I've thoroughly enjoyed being on here.
This was awesome, dude. We definitely have to get you back on the show, especially after Nationals.
For sure.
You know, wishing you good luck for that.
Yeah,
if we want to find you, man, through social media, if we can get to know a little bit more about your coaching, I know you do some remote coaching as well. How can my listeners find you?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Tyler Young Strongman. Add me on Facebook. That's Tyler Young. Got a couple accounts. You can add them both. So, and as far as programming goes, if you have any questions about coaching or anything like that, you're welcome to email me. That's at greatapeperformance@gmail.com. And we also have that same Instagram handle. Website will be dropping soon. So, yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Let's go, dude. Congratulations, man. Good stuff. Yeah. We will make sure that we put all this, guys listening, we'll put all this below so you can just straight hit the hyperlinks.
For sure, man. I appreciate being here.